Citizens of West Alabama, have you heard the news? The Bank of Moundville, which was established way back in 1907, offers personal loans of all sizes, unsecured and secured, with competitive interest rates. You can contact them today at 205-371-2227. Once again, that is the Bank of Moundville, 205-371-2227, or go by and see them in downtown Moundville. They are an equal housing lender and a member of the FDIC. Vince.
Yo.
Thank you so much, man. This is going to be awesome.
Oh, there we go. What's up? Hey, there you go. What's up, guys?
Good morning, Vince. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Are you in the Philadelphia area?
No, I'm in Jupiter, Florida.
Gotcha.
Oh, even better. Even better.
Yeah, we have a little drizzle. So it's nice. I got my garage door open. I'm looking outside. It's some palm trees and a nice drizzle. So it's as good as it gets. And that jersey, if you're wondering what that jersey is, that's my wife's jersey she wore when she was on the USA World Gymnastics team. She was not a Giants fan. And she was not a bartender. Yeah, I always had this fantasy for gymnasts, and I wound up marrying one. So it's pretty good.
Yeah. That is pretty good. That is pretty good. Yeah. Well, Vince, I'm Heath, by the way.
Look,
our show is about storytelling. We don't break news. We rarely react to news. We like to bring people on and let them tell their story.
Uh-huh.
So if you feel like getting long-winded, go for it. If you start telling your story and you want to start it over, feel free to do it. And all that. If you accidentally slip up and say a 4-letter word, Stephen can take that out and post.
I think I'll pass on that. I've been known not to do that, so I'll be good.
Well, good.
Don't worry about it. Yeah.
But if you think you should or shouldn't get long-winded, go for it. And as always, we want you to be the funniest and smartest guy in the room. When we told Dan Mullen that, he said, "Can I be the best looking?" And we're like, "Sure, Dan, you can be the best looking too." So.
All right, hey, thanks. Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to pull us down. We're going to get going, okay?
You go.
You are locked in on the Stingray Show. And coming up on this edition, we are going to be joined by a former Philadelphia Eagle wide receiver who played 3 seasons for the Philadelphia Eagles and actually had a movie made about his time there at Philadelphia. We are going to be joined by none other than Vince Papala on this edition of the Stingray Show. So sit back, relax, and enjoy, because this show is going to be a blast right here on the Stingray Show.
Hi, this is Tim Brando with a reminder. Those of you on Tide 100.9, look out. You're about to feel the buzz of Stingray.
This is Stephen Ray, a.k.a. Stingray, coming to you live from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
I'm Heath Hopkins. I'm here in DeSoto County, Mississippi, right outside of Memphis, Tennessee. You know, Mark, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you feel that responsibility to pay it forward and give some kid a chance coming up in the ranks, kind of like Tony did for you?
Why do you think I'm talking to Stingray tonight?
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
No, I mean, look, no.
Hey, Stingray, here's the deal. When you get involved with Texas, it's like getting married to a stripper. and let me explain this. It looks good, kind of sexy on the surface. Yeah, but then you get the baggage, you get the drama, you get all that eventually comes with it. And that's what you get with Texas, and that's what the Big 12 learned.
And Heath, any thoughts on our show moving forward?
Hey, to everyone in Tuscaloosa listening here on Tide 100.9. With the Stingray Show, if you don't like it, you better learn to love it, because it's the best show going today, baby. Woo!
And ladies and gentlemen, with all of that, we want to welcome you inside another edition of the Stingray Show. And hey, this show is going to be awesome.
Yeah, you know, Stephen, when you told me that you were reaching out to him, I usually don't ever get excited about guests, but I was like, really? You're doing this? I was like, awesome. Yes. So yeah, when it panned out and worked out, that's when I got excited. I was like, I look forward to this one.
Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's go on ahead and get right to him. He is a former Philadelphia Eagle wide receiver in the NFL for 3 seasons and then had the movie Invincible made after his story and was played by Mark Wahlberg. Ladies and gentlemen, please help us welcome to the Stingray Show, Mr. Vince Papala. Hopefully I said that correctly. Vince, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Stephen. It's sort of Papala. Yeah, this is Italian, man. So you put that eat it at the end. That's a strong E. That's Papala. So whatever. Hey, I don't care what you call me. They say just call me. And hey, Heath. So you're right outside Memphis?
I am. I'm right outside. I'm in Hernando, Mississippi.
All right. So have you been to a Memphis Showboats game?
Brother, I grew up on the Showboats. I used to love the Showboats when Reggie White was there. And yeah, a lot of people don't know this. If you're a wrestling fan, Lex Luger played for the Showboats back in the day. His real name was Larry Full, but
how about that? Well, my son's playing for Memphis.
Get out.
Yeah, man. He been there. He was there last year. We love it there. I was in Memphis. How many times? 5, 6, 7 times last year.
Well, maybe we can meet up, brother. I'll tell you all the hidden barbecue places that aren't famous.
There you go. Let's go. I know there's a few of them there. Anyway, I want to take away from that, but I just got a great picture from Vinny just before we got on the air. He's at training camp. He's with the UFL. And that's my little boy, my little man, and there he is. He's ready to go. So they're going to have their first game right there in Memphis on Easter Sunday. I won't be able to be there because it's Easter Sunday. We have a whole bunch of people coming in.
Right.
But I'll be there for all the rest of the game. So, hey, man, it's great to be part of it. And, Stephen, thanks for being so patient with me. I know we were trying to hook up all the way through the Super Bowl, and I've been traveling like heck. So I promise. All right, I promise no bombs today.
You're fine, dude.
Let's go. Let's have a fun time.
So, Vince, I do want to go on ahead briefly, and you just talked about Memphis right there. How do you think your son is going to play this year, and how do you think the Showboats are going to do in the new UFL?
Well, I'm real excited. We're pretty pumped up about the Showboats this year. Vinny, this will be his, he was with the USFL last year.
Yes.
That's who Memphis was. They released their head coach and they brought in a guy from the XFL team. No, the other Showboat team, and that's, and that's John DiFilippo, who was the head coach there. Now he's the new head coach for Memphis. We like Flip. We love Flip. I mean, there's a lot of great things about him. Number one, I'm from a small county right outside of Philadelphia that's sort of sandwiched right between the city of Philadelphia and the state of Delaware. It's called Delaware County, Delco.
Right.
And John Flip, we call him Flip. Flip, he's from that same area. We grew up in the same area. But he was the quarterback's coach when Doug Peterson's Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl against the Patriots a few years ago. And now he's the head coach. So, he became the coach. He's got Vinny playing the slot. And, he thinks he might see the ball once or twice this year. So we'll see. Got a great quarterback in case. So, we'll see what goes on. But the ball's going to be flying. There's a lot of motion going on, and it's going to be really exciting. But the one thing is that the league has changed this year in that everybody's going to be stationed in Arlington, Texas. And then they'll be flying out the night before the game, and they'll be playing in the game city. So like last year was, as Heath, the stadium area.
Oh, yeah.
And Vinny was just a half a mile. He had a little Airbnb with 3 of his teammates there in an Airbnb. I could walk to the stadium, and then we'd come in the night before. Yeah, go hit the barbecue joint, and then Vinny would play. And then after the game, I mean, there's so many great places to go to after the game was over. So it's going to be a little bit different this year, but we're real excited and looking forward to a big year. And Vinny just sent me a picture maybe just 5 or 10 minutes ago with his number 13, and that's his traditional 13. So
that's awesome.
They usually don't give that number to somebody who can't catch a football. So we'll see what happens.
Now, Vince, I want to ask you, do you and your son, do y'all have some verbal jabs back and forth and tease each other who was better? Do you still kind of stick it to him like, your old man's better than you? Well,
I always tell him, no, I don't say that. I don't want to get into that because I know he kicked my butt. I always tell him, I said, but don't forget, I got one hit left, and I'll tell you what, it's a good one. So don't mess with me. But everybody asks me, he clearly is, and I was a half decent athlete. I mean, I was a decathlete, and a 4 letterman in high school and all that stuff. But Vincent, he has power, speed, intellectual, situational awareness. And I would say that, and he runs a 4.4 and he's 210 and 6'1". I think Vinny's probably got it all over me. So, and but we'll it's all going to transfer on the field, so we'll see how it happens. But I'm sure he'll do a great job. But I'm so excited. I can't wait for this season to start. I'm out of my mind right now.
Me and you both, brother. Me and you both.
So, guys, we've got to head to break, and when we come back, we are going to continue the interview with Vince Papala and talk with him about why he ultimately decided to try out for a spot on the Philadelphia Eagles roster. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show. We will be right back with NFL legend Vince Papala. Do you guys like to fish? I know I do, and springtime is the perfect time to stock your pond or lake with fish such as brim, threadfin shad, and tilapia. Or are you looking for top quality automatic fish feeders, aeration systems, and fountains? If that is the case, then you need to contact Jeff Bagwell and Honey Hole Fisheries right here in Tuscaloosa. You can get in touch with Honey Hole Fisheries at 205-799-0192. Once again, that is 205-799-0192. Contact Honey Hole Fisheries today and let them help you build the lake or pond of your dreams. Citizens of West Alabama, have you heard the news? The Bank of Moundville, which was established way back in 1907, offers personal loans of all sizes, unsecured and secured, with competitive interest rates. You can contact them today at 205-371-2227. Once again, that is the Bank of Moundville, 205-371-2227, or go by and see them in downtown Moundville. They are an equal housing lender and a member of the FDIC. Residents of Tuscaloosa, are you guys upsizing, downsizing, looking for college housing, or even relocating for your job right here to Tuscaloosa? If that's the case, then you need to contact Celeste Hagler, owner and operator of First Class Real Estate South Home Group, right here in Tuscaloosa. She can help you with the buying, selling, and investment needs throughout the state of Alabama. You can contact Celeste at 205-861-5698. Reach out to Celeste again at 205-861-5698 and schedule a consultation to discuss your real estate goals and to live where you love in the state of Alabama.
Attention! The best sports talk in the state. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
And guys, we want to welcome you back inside the Stingray Show. Hope all is well. And now we are going to continue our interview with NFL legend and movie star Vince Papala, who had the movie Invincible made about his life. Let's go on ahead and continue this interview. So Vince, growing up in Pennsylvania, who were some of your favorite players as a kid?
Well, one of them actually was my cousin. He played for the Philadelphia Warriors, and people might the Warriors. Well, they eventually became the Philadelphia 76ers. But on that Philadelphia Warriors team might be somebody known as maybe, without a doubt, the GOAT of all centers, and that'd be Wilt Chamberlain. And his teammate was Wilt Chamberlain. And he actually won a championship with them. So that was my cousin. He was married to my cousin. He was a cousin by marriage. So he was one of my idols. But, growing up, the Eagles were my team. I loved the Phillies. We didn't have ice hockey then that time.
Right.
It was a 3-sport city back when I was growing up. And, with the Phillies, it had to definitely be, it was Robin Roberts, the great pitcher we had. But the Eagles was Tommy McDonald and Chuck Bednarik. These guys are icons and they're all Hall of Famers. And it was Tommy McDonald, though, was the guy. He was the little guy. He went to Oklahoma. And he was on that Wilkinson team that won, 50 straight games in a row. Mm-hmm. And, and he came to the Eagles, and he was that crazy nut, didn't wear a face mask. And when they forced him to wear a face mask, he just wore the single bar. And he always had this thing, as soon as he got hit, he would pop right up. And I was, when I was growing up as a kid, I was pretty tiny. When I was 14, I wasn't even 100 pounds, 4 feet, 10 inches tall.
Right.
And, getting knocked all over the place. But my thing is, I'd be Tommy McDonald. I made sure my shoes were like him and everything. And he was, and when I made the Eagles and I was introduced to Tommy McDonald, I cried. I couldn't believe that I was talking to my idol, and we remained friends. And the irony of this is great because his son went to the University of Delaware and he was a wide receiver. And my son Vinny went to UDel and he was a wide receiver. So when I'd go to all of Vinny's games, I'd be there with Tommy McDonald's son, which was pretty cool as well.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, so, we had some really good teams back then. And then the Flyers came in, Broad Street Boys, and they kicked a little butt. And, and I'm still, I'm right now, I'm down in Jupiter, Florida, surrounded by some artifacts of my kids and my daughter.
I see
and my
that.
wife. Yeah, well, that's Gabby up there. She cheered at Syracuse.
Okay.
Vinny over here. He was on the USA high school team actually, mm-hmm. and they played in Dallas against Canada, and he had a touchdown in that game.
Awesome.
I'm a big supporter of the police, and that little flag down there is about the COPS, Concerns of Police Survivors, and that USA right there on the back. That sort of represents my wife Janet. She was on the USA World Gymnastics team, and there's a little something right over there with me, but. Hey, you know what? The way I look at life, it's all about my family, and it's about what I can provide for them. And we're really in a great spot right now. I have a house in Philadelphia, and and the Eagles are doing fairly well, and so we'll see what's going on.
Vince, who's the best athlete in the family?
Probably, unquestionably, Vinny.
Okay.
He could have played any sport he wanted to, and certainly my daughter Gabriella, even though. She cheered most of the time when she was in high school and college. Really a great lacrosse player and field hockey player. And Janet, Janet, tennis.
She's an Olympian, yeah.
Yeah, she played. She was on that. And then after the Olympic Games in Munich, she was competing, I think, against Yugoslavians, and she blew her knee out. And she's 18 years old, for crying out loud. And she's wearing USA on her jersey for 4 years. And then, so she goes to college. She goes to Penn State. And she tried to do the gymnastics, but her knee was back in the day when they put a knee together, they just put it together,
Right.
Now they have reconstructive surgery. So anyway, and she said she wasn't ready to give up her leotard, and she wound up trying out for the tennis team, and she got the Joe Namath brace to wear, and she wound up making the tennis team. But the tennis coach says you can't wear the brace during a game because they're going to target you. They're going to make you go to that. So she, she was disappointed, and she was ready to get out of college. And the swim coach came up and said, "I've had great success with gymnasts in diving. How would you like to try diving?" And Janet said, "Yeah, why not?" She says, "I can't do the 10 meter because it's a flat surface and her knee would, but I can do the 1 and 3." When you know it, she sets all Penn State's diving records. And then she actually qualified for the Olympic trials, and she had a decision to make, and I'm so proud of her. And she had an opportunity. She was coaching in South Africa, coaching the Olympians in South Africa when she was 21, 22 years old. And she got an opportunity to coach at the University of Pennsylvania gymnastics and start the men's and women's program, which she decided to do. And we sort of met back then in '76 when I was a rookie. We didn't date, but we started dating in '92, and as they say, the rest is history. But we're a jock family.
Right.
Our house was a locker room, and there's no holds barred. And my kids are all athletes, and they love going to sports. Gabriella, she'll be working she's going to be working the Final Four in Arizona.
Okay.
When she was with the 76ers for 5 years, she was in charge of all their live in-game entertainment other than the games or anything you saw on the court. That was Gabby. So, and, Vinny, that's the natural. And Janet, it's down here. Ernie Ellis comes here and a bunch of the pros come here to this golf course I live on. Yeah. And Janet plays at least 3-4 times a week. So she got game. Me, I'm an army golfer. Left, right, left. Give me a cigar, give me a beer or two, and I'll put my country music on and in my cart, and I'm having a great day. I never have a bad day in the golf course.
I'm making a bad joke here, Vince. So you're not married to Elizabeth Banks like you are in the movie, right? That's not a shocker.
She was cool though, man. She went to Penn.
Oh, okay. I didn't know Elizabeth Banks went to Penn.
Yeah, she was an undergrad at Penn, and when Janet was coaching there, they never knew each other. And then when we got together, oh my God, Elizabeth Banks, she was so cool. Really sassy. I mean, just really cool. Elizabeth was just right there, man. And she's just like Janet, and they got along tremendously.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she's great. I love her. And that's Mark Wahlberg, I don't know what can I say about Mark Wahlberg and the job he did. He was phenomenal. He was beyond phenomenal.
Now, Vince, let's go back to your high school days. You didn't play high school or college football, so what made you decide to try out for a spot on the Philadelphia Eagles roster?
Well, it was sort of an evolution. I actually got Stephen, I got 1 year in high school football. And then that's when I was a senior. I started to grow a little bit, and I was about 5'6", 160, 170 pounds. And the new head coach I had before, they had a Marine sergeant, and he kept looking at me, and he said, "You're going to get killed out there." I says, "You can't come out for a team." But I wanted to go out as a sophomore, as a freshman, and a junior, because we didn't have middle schools then. It was a traditional junior high school, 7 to 9, and then the high school from 10 to 12. And I played in the junior high school team, and my coach eventually became the head coach of the high school team, and he invited me on as a first year senior. So I was sorry about that plane. There's the West Palm Beach Airport's right.
We didn't hear it, brother. You're fine.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I was the fastest kid in the school. I was probably the fastest kid in the county, to be honest with you, except for Billy White Shoes Johnson. And so what he did is he molded the offense around me and around the quarterback. His name was Jim Haney. He set a lot of passing records at Westchester. Went out and he got drafted by the Vikings, which was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. So I had 1 year there, and then I played basketball. Did okay, and then I was just going to I was actually going to get a free agent tryout, believe it or not, at a little teaching school in suburban Philly called Westchester State Teachers College, and now it's Westchester University. It was a big football power amongst all those Division III schools. Mm-hmm. And I was going to get a tryout there, and so Coach came to me and he just said, my football coach, he says, "Hey, I just got the track coaching job," and he says, "I need you." He said, "Will you please come out? I'll get you in shape. I'll get you ready for your tryout and all that." He said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want a pole vault." Well, what do you know? I wound up being the Philadelphia champion. I was a foot and a half off the world's record. I never pole vaulted before. I had 14.6. I had 14.6 on Father's Day. And all these guys that I beat were guys that were given scholarships over me that I had, that I was visiting these schools. All of a sudden, I'm going from 11 feet to 11.6 to 12 to 13 feet. But they said, "We already have our guy," So I beat all those guys. And on Father's Day, I was able to give my father the greatest Father's Day gift ever, and that was a scholarship to St. Joe's.
So, Vince, we were up against another break, and when we come back, we are going to continue this story of how you got your tryout with the Philadelphia Eagles. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show. We will be right back. It is Girl Scout cookie time, and if you guys like Girl Scout cookies, Strange Brew Coffee House now offers Girl Scout cookie frappes at all locations, including Samoa, Thin Mint, and Tagalong. Delicious frappes are made with real Girl Scout cookies. Strange Brew Coffee House can be found at the University of Alabama campus, also up in Tupelo, Mississippi, if you are heading up there to Tupelo, or their home location location over in Starkville, Mississippi. Go by and get a delicious Girl Scout cookie frappe today at one of the Strange Brew Coffee House locations. Are you guys in the mood for community goods and great barbecue? That's what you'll find at the Coker Market, located in Coker, Alabama at the four-way intersection off of County Road 140. Their hours of operation are Wednesday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until 7 p.m., and their menu items include the Midnight, which is smoked ham, smoked pork, Swiss cheese, Creole mustard, mayonnaise, and a pickle, grilled on French bread. That sandwich is absolutely amazing. Make sure you go and check out the Coker Market right there at the four-way intersection in Coker for amazing food and community goods. Are you looking for a traditional banking experience with a banker who calls you by name? Then we invite you to get to know our friends at Bryant Bank. Bryant Bank customers enjoy online banking accessible around the clock to give you the freedom and flexibility to bank your way, all backed by the people you know and trust. Get to know your Bryant banker at one of the 4 Tuscaloosa locations today. Bryant Bank, an equal housing lender, and as always, a member of the FDIC.
Catch every game and every moment right here. This is your home of Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Are you guys sick and tired of spending $100 to $200 to $300 on a nice meal? If that's the case, then you need to go by a place that keeps a little money in your pocket. I'm talking about South's Finest Meats, which features Black Angus prime selection of steaks. You can find them at 3201 10th Avenue, right there in Tuscaloosa. South's Finest Meats is a company that believes in great customer service, fair pricing, and a place where you are appreciated. Go by and see them today right there at South's Finest Meats. And we want to welcome you back inside the Stingray Show. Our guest this evening is former Philadelphia Eagles star Vince Papala. And before the break, we were talking about how he ultimately got his shot to try out for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now let's continue with that story.
And on Father's Day, I was able to give my father the greatest Father's Day gift ever, and that was a scholarship to St. Joe's. But they didn't have college football. They didn't have football.
Right.
So, so here I am. I'm at St. Joe's, and then before you know it, I go from 5'8" to 6'2", running a 100-yard dash in 9.7. And, then I wound up doing half of the decathlon and all my dual meets and playing in these little rough touch leagues that we had. And then I got a teaching job at my high school. One of the coaches came up, my alma mater, one of the coaches came up and said to me, "Hey, I play in this rough touch league. We'd love to have you play." And I'm the season ticket holder with the Philadelphia Eagles. And I wound up playing rough touch football. And that evolved to semi-pro football. And then that semi-pro evolved. You remember with Memphis, the Memphis Showboats they had? I mean, it was the Southmen back then. And Jim Kick, Larry Zonka, and Paul Warfield, all, if you remember. Well, I was part of that league. That was the World Football League.
Okay.
And the Philadelphia Bell had a free agent tryout just like the Eagles did. And Heath, there were about 600 or 800 guys, 80 wide receivers. And I popped a 4 or 5 against all them. And I went through 3 other tryouts, and I wound up 1 year and 4 games in the World Football League.
Okay.
And that folded. And here I am. I want to go back and get my teaching job. I was working on my master's degree. I was trying to qualify for Olympic trials in a decathlon. I was a head track coach, assistant football coach. I'm going to go back and get all this stuff again. And they said, well, we don't have a teaching job for you now because it was April. And the spring league had just folded. So, but we got a job for you next year. So I started bartending and substitute teaching. And who trots into Philadelphia after he beats Woody Hayes in the Rose Bowl, and that's Dick Vermeil from UCLA. And he had that memorable, legendary free agent tryout, and I popped another 4 or 5 in that one, and signed a contract right on the spot actually. And I had 4 months to get ready, and Roman Gabriel worked me out. and a bunch of other guys, and they taught me how to be a wide receiver in the NFL. And, there it is. The rest is the movie Invincible. There it is. And
a super quick follow-up. You talked about
my buddy Mark.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. You talked about Dick Vermeil. Dick Vermeil just always seemed like a super organized guy, but he also seemed like a great guy off the field. I've never met Dick Vermeil, but was he the kind of guy that you kind of hoped that he was your neighbor? I mean, was he that kind of guy, or was he just strictly a football guy, X's and O's, and get out of my way, I got to get work done, and I'm out of here?
Well, I thought we sort of thought that, that he was this football guy just to that. But then he did something really unique when we were playing. And every Thursday night, he would invite somebody from the team, a certain group, maybe be the wide receivers. It could be the defensive backs, could be the offensive linemen. We would go over to his house for dinner, and he and his wife, Carol, would cook dinner for us, steaks on the grill. And he'd have Neil Diamond. He loved Neil Diamond. And he'd have Neil Diamond playing the whole time. And the thing was, we never talked Eagle football. We could talk about whatever we did prior to that, but we never talked Eagle football. And we sort of got to know him. So sort of on the other side. This was after the rookie year. He did it the second year. And so he was so organized, and it was legendary that he slept on a cot in the office and all that kind of stuff. And he just said, hey, look, man, look how I got ahead of me. I've got these great coaches, and he says, I'm just trying to climb my way up to the top. But then once you become one of Dick Vermeil's guys, you're him forever. And, I talk to Coach all the time. He's a big advocate for my son. He helped Vinny a lot a few years ago and some things, and is a very, very close friend. My wife, he just loves my wife, Janet, and we have a great time. I'm always in touch with him. Always. I'll send this picture that I had with Vinny, number 13. I'll send one of the people I'll send it to would be Coach Vermeil. He's your favorite uncle.
Okay.
I don't know. His kids are all very, very successful, and his grandkids and all that stuff. But he's your favorite uncle, and he's a Renaissance man. He loves hunting, he loves fishing, he loves doing all the outdoor stuff. He's a mechanic. He's half Italian like me. His father was his mother was Italian, and his father was French. And now he's got his big wine thing, and right there is my wine cooler, and I have maybe 20 bottles of Dick Vermeil wine right in there right now, which I save for the good times, I love Dick Vermeil, and we're always in touch, And I say, I sent him a picture just a couple of weeks ago, right after the Super Bowl, Stephen, and it was a picture of 6 or 8 of us guys who were at his house that he invited us there, and he's got this log cabin on 110 acres, which is really cool. It's like a hunting lodge. That's his house that he has. And he invited us all there, and the sad thing at the end, he says, those 2 guys on the end are no longer with us. They're looking and they're smiling down. And he said, thank you for sharing the picture. I mean, I just love Coach Vermeil, and we were there for his induction. He invited us out, which was very, very special. And it was a great reunion with a lot of us guys that played for Coach.
Wow.
So, Vince, after your private workout there with Dick Vermeil in 1976, how difficult were the practices where you were trying to make the final roster, and how much pressure was on you to do so?
Well, I'll answer the second part first. There was no pressure whatsoever. The only pressure was me. Nobody expected me to do anything other maybe than my father. Everybody else thought, this is just a lark, but I knew that I had the talent. I was just curious whether I was going to get that shot. The practices were extremely difficult, but, I was a decathlete. I worked myself as hard. I worked harder, I think, than anybody else did on the team. I would always get the award from Coach after the off season was over for hard work, for the most miles run, for this, that, the other thing, most improvement in your weights and those kinds of things. But man, oh man, those practices were full pads, and third tempo, most of it. Practices were 2.5, 3 hours long, double sessions, and then we'd have a walkthrough every night, and then meetings until 10 o'clock, and lights out at 11, and the alarm would hit at 7, and you start all over again.
Right.
And a lot of the guys, especially the veterans, were moaning like you can't imagine in the locker room, and that was music to my ears. I just kept my mouth shut and did what I had to do. And I was ready. I had 4 months after the free agent tryout to get ready for the actual training camp, which was 4th of July weekend, and that's when it started. I mean, he wanted to have that large camp. And there were about 110 guys there, and there were about 16, 18 wide receivers. And so I went into training camp that first year. I went in at 198, and I was 6'2", and I came out at 180. I lost 18 pounds. My legs were about shot. But, I survived it and wound up leading the team in touchdowns and actually receptions. And so I've been a little bit pissed off if I didn't make that team.
Yes.
But, he saw me, he slotted me, not as a position, but he saw me. My role was going to be that special teams guy, that 5th wide receiver that was just going to run like crazy downfield, throw his body around and do it. So, they were legendary. Guys talk about Coach Ramil's training camp, and it was all true. It was pretty tough.
So, guys, we were up against yet another break, and when we come back, we are going to talk about his playing career there at Philadelphia. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show. We will be right back to continue the interview with Vince Papala.
Go inside the Alabama Crimson Tide with the Gary Harris Show.
Hey everybody, it's Gary Harris. Coming up Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. on the Gary Harris Show, the Rocket Man, Rudy Arman from 977 ESPN Radio in Huntsville will join us to talk some ball. Also, we'll continue to look back at the 8A game, and the transfer portal is hot for basketball. We'll have the latest on that with Nate Oates and the Crimson Tide. All that and more at 9 a.m. on Tuesday morning.
Catch the Gary Harris Show Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. on Tide 100.9 and Tide100.9.com.
For 75 years and counting, the Tuscaloosa Farmers Co-op has been serving West Alabama for all of their hunting, outdoor, gardening, and farming needs, as well as seasonal flowers and vegetables. And this year is no different. The Spring Co-op Plant Sale goes on from March the 25th through May the 11th. Pick any 5 for $20. Mix any varieties. That is the Spring Plant Sale at the Tuscaloosa Farmers Co-op. The Tuscaloosa Farmers Co-op is located in Northport, Alabama, just west of the Highway 82 and 43 intersection at 4301 McFarland Boulevard in Northport. Go by there and see them today for their Spring Plant Sale, March the 25th through May the 11th, only at the Tuscaloosa Farmers Co-op. Are you guys sick and tired of spending $100 to $200 to $300 on a nice meal? If that's the case, then you need to go by a place that keeps a little money in your pocket. I'm talking about South's Finest Meats, which features Black Angus prime selection of steaks. You can find them at 3201 10th Avenue, right there in Tuscaloosa. South's Finest Meats is a company that believes in great customer service, fair pricing, and a place where you are appreciated. Go by and see them today right there at South's Finest Meats. Citizens of West Alabama, have you heard the news? The Bank of Moundville, which was established way back in 1907, offers personal loans of all sizes, unsecured and secured, with competitive interest rates. You can contact them today at 205-371-2227. Once again, that is the Bank of Moundville, 205-371-2227, or go by and see them in downtown Moundville. They are an equal housing lender and a member of the FDIC.
Hey folks. The flagship station for Alabama Crimson Tide sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Are Are you looking for a traditional banking experience with a banker who calls you by name? Then we invite you to get to know our friends at Bryant Bank. Bryant Bank customers enjoy online banking accessible around the clock to give you the freedom and flexibility to bank your way, all backed by the people you know and trust. Get to know your Bryant banker at one of the 4 Tuscaloosa locations today. Bryant Bank, an equal housing lender, and as always, a member of the FDIC. And with that, we want to say welcome back inside the Stingray Show. Our guest this evening is Vince Papala, who played for 3 seasons up at Philadelphia way back in the 70s, and then had a movie made about his time up there at Philadelphia. And now let's continue this interview talking about his actual playing career up there at Philadelphia. So Vince, in 1977, in an exhibition game versus New England, you scored your first NFL touchdown, which was the game winner. Walk us through that play as you remember it, please.
77?
Yes.
That was, it was actually what it was. It was a preseason game. It was just me and Tim Fox going head to head, and won the game on that one, because I actually really had a good, that would have been my second year.
Right.
That was the year when I was given one of the greatest honors anybody be given by their teammates, and I was voted captain of the special teams. All those guys that were riding my ass, my butt, the year before, now all of a sudden they became, a lot of them, half of them were gone. As coach said, they were going to be gone, and half of them were gone, and I wound up being voted captain of special teams. But yeah, I remember that because I remember the battles we used to have with Tim Fox up there at the Patriots. Him, Foxy from Ohio State. He had his big hair and all that stuff. He thought he was that guy. Hey, welcome to the NFL. He gave me a cheap shot. I told him to keep his head on his swivel. I was going to knock him out, and I did. I got him. And so I had a little bit of a reputation for being a renegade out there, which was good.
Right.
But also I had the reputation for being a pretty boy. Guys thought that, look at this guy. We're going to knock him around, and they'd come up. You're getting all this press. And I'm getting it from, the Cardinals guys, from the Chicago Bears, from the LA Rams, all them, because every city I go into, there would always be a feature article on the real life Rocky, which sort of embarrassed me because I love Sylvester Stallone. I love the movie Rocky, which came out right when I was coming out. Right. So, it was interesting, but it was pretty cool. But I have to tell you that one of the hallmark is in the movie. The last scene in the movie is the touchdown against the New York Giants, and they actually, in reality, I'll give you full disclosure now. They rolled it a muff, and and they said the guy didn't have control when I hit him, and they pulled it back, but we got a touchdown anyway. And that night we had a team party, and it was right around Halloween, and I got invited to my first team party. And I was sitting there with Howard Carmichael, Roman Gabriel, John Bunning. Ron Jaworski hadn't come in yet. This was 77 when he came in for Charlie Young. And that was the coolest moment in the world to be accepted by those guys. That was really sharp.
Very nice.
Because they're my idols. These guys are my boys.
Yeah.
Sitting in the stands. Come on, let's go. I didn't want to hit any. Actually, here's one of the things. Coach came up to me. The first week at training camp was just all free agents and rookies, no names, And then Roman Gabriel was the quarterback just to give it some validity, So we had been working out for 3 months prior to that. I was working out with Steve Carlton, Mike Schmidt, and Roman Gabriel. We had this strength and conditioning coach who was into Kung Fu. So I was really into all that stuff. So Gabe's throwing me the ball all the time. And then I'm just knocking everything off. Anything that had a different color jersey on, I hit it. And then I got to training. Then the second week, the veterans came in, and I pulled back because a lot of these guys, like Billy Bradley, they're my idols. I didn't want to hurt any one of them because they're my idol. I never really thought that I'd be wound up sitting in the stands cheering for them. So I didn't want to be the guy that everybody would point a finger at and say, because you, that guy's not there. So anyway, it was an interesting experience to say the least.
Vince, I got a million questions about the movie, and I'll start it with this. How did it all come about? Were you shopping a script? Did a buddy of yours or a stranger come up to you and say, hey, I want to buy your story? Did Hollywood reach out to you like, hey, I was an Eagles fan and I remember your story. How did this come about?
Well, here's how it all came about. It went. There was I got the 3 years active, and then I got the fourth year in the first preseason game. In the fourth year, I was going head to head with Scott Fiskey, who got drafted by us, a wide receiver from Penn State, and I did something stupid. Coach pulled me out of the game. I had 4 catches against who was it then? It was Baltimore at the Baltimore Colts at Municipal Stadium, and I said, one more play, Coach. And so that one more play, I dislocated this shoulder. This one I had re-separated already earlier in the game. I didn't want to tell anybody. So that was the end of it. And I got into I got at least a year out of it. So I got my pension, which was pretty cool. So now, I go and I'm doing TV and radio and got into sales and marketing. And then I get married. I got married in '93 with Janet, with the gymnast. And we have a couple kids, and then all of a sudden, NFL Films comes up to me in 2002, and there's this guy, a little Italian guy from Philly, and he's working for NFL Films, Pete DiStefano, and he says, they want to do a feature. The movie Rocky's turning 25. It came out in '77. So the NFL and the producers of Rocky and also ESPN, they want to feature you on Monday Night Football, comparing you to Rocky, because they always call me the real life Rocky.
Right.
Well, anyway, so they showed that feature, and guess who's the Monday night commentators right before the game's coming on? The pregame guys, the late great Stuart Scott, the other side of the pillow, and Cool's the other side of the pillow. I mean, I love Stuart, and Ron Jaworski, my freaking quarterback, right?
Yeah.
And they're having a good old time, and they're messing around. It's on YouTube, by the way. You can see it. And so they're messing around. And it was like a 5-minute feature. Next day, and what they did, it was the Eagles were playing the 49ers on a Monday Night Football game, and I was the distant replay feature for the Eagles side of things. And I think it was Jerry Rice was the other side. And next thing you know, I get calls from Hollywood. And, I'm getting producers, I'm getting studios, I'm, getting agents calling us. And so we whittled it down, not to embarrass anybody. We whittled it down to this one guy, Ken Mock, because he had the real plan. He had the game plan, and he wrote a spec script, and the spec script came out in October of 04. And he gave the script to each one of you, and he gave the script to people from Columbia, that represented here, and, all these agents, whatever it was. Well, guess what? 2 of my favorite movies, Rookie and Miracle, were done by Mark Ciardi and Gordon Gray. They got a hold of the script, and they took it right to Disney. And as soon as Disney saw it, and the guy that saw it for the first time was a Philly guy. He remembered me. He said, I love this story. This is what we're going to do. And he gives it to the head of Buena Vista Pictures, who was the picture arm for Disney back then. And the same ones that did Miracle, the same ones that did Rookie. Yeah. And as soon as the president of Buena Vista looks at it, she says, I don't want any more calls. That's it. I want to read the script. Read the script. And in 2000 and 2005, I became a Disney property and, a Disney character. And, it was so cool. My kids are like 11, and, Gabrielle's 11 then. Vinny was 8. And I become that. When I got a call from Walt Disney, and they said, "You have an agent," and I said, "Well, this is Walt Disney. We're gonna do your movie." I got like a primal scream. My kids were in the car. They thought that somebody died. And I said, "No." I said, "We're going to Disney, man." So and that's how it happened. And then next thing you know, Mark Wahlberg becomes me, and they shot the movie in 13 weeks, starting right around 4th of July in 05. And the movie came out Labor Day 06, round number 1. That's how it came about.
So with that, we're up against yet another break, and when we come back, we are going to continue this interview talking about the Invincible movie made about the life of Vince Papala. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show. We will be right back with the legendary Vince Papala. Are you guys sick and tired of spending $100 to $200 to $300 on a nice meal. If that's the case, then you need to go by a place that keeps a little money in your pocket. I'm talking about South's Finest Meats, which features Black Angus prime selection of steaks. You can find them at 3201 10th Avenue, right there in Tuscaloosa. South's Finest Meats is a company that believes in great customer service, fair pricing, and a place where you are appreciated. Go by and see them today, right there at South's Finest Meats. For 75 years and counting, the Tuscaloosa Farmers Co-op has been serving West Alabama for all of their hunting, outdoor, gardening, and farming needs, as well as seasonal flowers and vegetables. And this year is no different. The Spring Co-op Plant Sale goes on from March the 25th through May the 11th. Pick any 5 for $20. Mix any varieties. That is the Spring Plant Sale at the Tuscaloosa Farmers Co-op. The Tuscaloosa Farmers Co-op is located in Northport, Alabama, just west of the Highway 82 and 43 intersection at 4301 McFarland Boulevard in Northport. Go by there and see them today for their spring plant sale, March the 25th through May the 11th, only at the Tuscaloosa Farmers Co-op. Are you looking for a traditional banking experience with a banker who calls you by name? Then we invite you to get to know our friends at Bryant Bank. Bryant Bank customers enjoy online banking accessible around the clock to give you the freedom and flexibility to bank your way, all backed by the people you know and trust. Get to know your Bryant banker at one of the 4 Tuscaloosa locations today. Bryant Bank, an equal housing lender, and as always, a member of the FDIC.
The flagship station for Alabama Crimson Tide football. Alabama touchdown. Only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
For 75 years and counting, the Tuscaloosa Farmers Co-op has been serving West Alabama for all of their hunting, outdoor, gardening, and farming needs, as well as seasonal flowers and vegetables. And this year is no different. The Spring Co-op Plant Sale goes on from March the 25th through May the 11th. Pick any 5 for $20. Mix any varieties. That is the Spring Plant Sale at the Tuscaloosa Farmers Co-op. The Tuscaloosa Farmers Co-op is located in Northport, Alabama, just west of the Highway 82 and 43 intersection at 4301 McFarland Boulevard in Northport. Go by there and see them today for their spring plant sale, March the 25th through May the 11th, only at the Tuscaloosa Farmers Co-op. And guys, we want to welcome you back inside the Stingray Show. Our guest this evening is Mr. Invincible, Vince Papala, and let's continue to dive into the backstory of how this movie, Invincible, all came about.
Ken Mock was the executive producer. He produced America's Next Top Model, and he's still out there. He's still doing a lot of great movies. And Mark Ciardi and Gordon Gray. Mark just did the quarterback, under the underdog, the ultimate underdog. So it just goes. But this is the really cool thing. So now Creed, the first Creed is coming out, and it's going to be done in Philadelphia,
right?
Or they're going to do the press conference in Philadelphia. Well, wouldn't you know it? That I get called and they asked me if I would be the MC for that press conference.
Wow.
Oh, so we're at the Art Museum steps, and we go into the green room, and and there's Michael Jordan, he's over there, and all the actresses, and this and that, and everybody's being introduced. And Stallone is about 15, 20 feet away, and he's just signing posters. Signing posters, that's what you do, you sign posters. And they said, and everybody knows who our MC is that's Mr. Invincible, Vince Papale. And that Stallone looks up, Sylvester looks up, and he gives me this look, and he just goes like this. And I had heard wrongly that he wasn't real happy with me being the real life Rocky, right?
Okay.
When he saw me, I says, "Oh man," I was about ready to say, "I'm so sorry about all this stuff." And he just gave me a big hug. He said, "I'm really proud of you, Vince." He said, "Congratulations on a great career." And I have these phenomenal pictures of me and him together for the first time. And I did that. And from then on, we've been buds, which was really, really cool. So, that's how it happened. And, the movie came out. We were number one in the box office for the first 2 weeks at $30 million, which was, and it came right around Labor Day. And I have people that still come that are from Philly people that said, during the movie, we wore our Eagles jerseys and we were doing this. And, I was out in San Diego as Stephen, I was in San Diego and I was in Las Vegas for pregame stuff, doing a lot of stuff there. That's why I didn't have a heck of a lot of time, and we're a different time zone. And, but it's still taking me. I'll be in Nashville. I'll be around the corner from you. I'll be in Nashville in a couple of weeks, and then I'm going out to Carmel, and I've got St. Louis coming, and I've got this coming, got that coming. It's still living. It's every person's story. It's every man's story.
It really is. It really is. How old were your kids when the movie came out?
Well, when the movie came out, Gabby was 12 and Vinny was 9.
Oh, those are great ages for that.
Oh yeah, they're great ages. And right now I'm looking at a Honda scooter, and it's all eagled up, and it was painted and bought and given to me by Mark Wahlberg after the shooting of the film was done, because he used to drive around. He used to drive around the set wherever we were in the set. He had that scooter, and my kids were always in the back of the scooter, the three of them. Mark. And Mark, a lot of times, especially for the football scenes, he had like a 14-pack, he was really, he really got himself in great shape. And, he would just drive around at Franklin Field, so the Penn Relays, we were filming all the pro football scenes there. And we had 5,000 or 6,000 extras, live extras, plus dummies that were dressed up as, as Eagle fans. People say, yeah, that's typical Eagle fans, a bunch of dummies. But, and he'd be driving around and he'd be, he'd flexing, and, Gabby and Vinny, they were just, so it's really cool. Yeah. What an experience. I mean, it's just like it was yesterday. It's so exciting.
So Vince, at what stage of the planning did Mark Wahlberg sign on to play you in Invincible?
Oh, I don't know. He just was assigned to me, Okay. There were guys that, I just sort of played around with. I won't mention their names, but I actually went to a Super Bowl right before the movie was coming out, and a lot of the guys there that are some of the top male actors and performers in Hollywood were busting Mark Chiardi because they knew Mark because of, with Miracle and Rookie. Mm-hmm. That, hey, man, I'd like to be the guy, and so Mark became the guy. And it was pretty cool. He actually threw a party in New York with that, and Janice and I brought a whole bunch of pictures of the way of what really was back then. And we actually trained together for 2 weeks prior to 4th of July in 2005 when we shot the movie. And the place we trained, and all the football players were Arena Football League players, and the action was really intense. And so we were just choreographing the whole movie there. But I got Mark for 2 hours every day, one-on-one, to go through and show him all the drills. And he used to come on, cover me, and so I'd run routes against him. And I was in my 50s, and but he was just tremendous. And he lost 20 pounds and got himself. He had a big trailer, an 18-wheeler. He had a big trailer, and it was a roaming fitness center, and he worked out every day. And you know what he did during football, which was really cool. The football scenes, as we were parked at Franklin Field, that's where the University of Penn used to be. Right. So he's got the big van there, and he's got his van, and his brother was a chef, and he had his brother cook steak every day after the shooting of the football scenes, and just beer all over the place for these guys, as a reward for them. And created that kind of camaraderie. And then we spent a week in Dallas and shot the Dallas scenes right there. And Jerry Jones played a little game and got my kids all dressed up in Cowboys gear and had them coming down to the golf cart. It was funny. Yeah, we had a great time. So, it was something that I'll never forget. And I wrote a book, and I've got a few books out there, so it's pretty cool.
Yes. So Vince, going back to the film, after the filming was complete, how crazy and exciting was it for you to go around and promote the film about your life?
Oh, it was pretty cool. I mean, I was there. We were promoting it. We were at the draft back then in 2006, and I was with Greg Kinnear, who just did a phenomenal job, doing Dick Vermeil. And Mark and we would be going around. We'd go to different spots and do that kind of stuff. But, most of the promotion was done by Disney. For me, everything sort of came afterwards. And I had a couple speaking bureaus, agencies come to me and said, you better learn how to speak, being a TV guy and a radio and a school teacher. A radio guy and a school teacher, that wasn't an issue. It's just, how am I going to put it all together,
right,
and present it? And so, I've written 3 books and have, I speak all over the world, somewhere around here. I mean, you can only see half of the wall, but I'm a Cavaliere in Italy, and the movie was shown at the Parliament in Italy. So, I mean, it's just been absolutely wild, and it's still, and how people embrace it and, say they want to be a part of it. So, and, hey, come on in, just don't take advantage of me.
Right.
Vince, Hollywood messes up everything, and they toy around with it, and they add so much, take some important parts out. But what were the crazy things in the movie that you weren't happy with?
Well, there wasn't anything there that they put in, because I had to approve everything.
Right.
So I approved everything that went on there. I was a little disappointed in the first script that my father wasn't mentioned, and so I had a little come to Jesus meeting with the director, and we talked about it. It's really a funny story. The director asked me to take him to the airport, and we had a little time before his flight. So, and he knew I knew the neighborhood. I said, hey, why don't we go to Max's, the bar that's representing the movie. I took him to Max's, walked in here. Yo, Vinny, how's it going? How's the movie going? And how's this? How's that? And I said, it's great. And I didn't introduce this guy as a director. I just said, This is my friend, and introduced his name. Hey, and then your dad. And they started telling stories about my dad. And after we got out of the bar and I was taking him to the airport, which just maybe a mile or 2 miles away. And guess the Steve Miller Band comes on, and Fly Like an Eagle is the song.
Right.
And I said, Erickson, that's Kingy, that's my dad. He says he wants to be in the movie, and boom. So they wrote my father into the movie and put some great scenes in there. And Kevin Conway did a great job representing my father.
So, guys, we are up against our final break, and when we come back, we are going to finish up this awesome interview with legendary Mr. Invincible Vince Papala. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show. We will be right back to finish up this interview.
A national championship team covering a national championship team. The best sports talk in the state. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Are you guys in the mood for community goods and great barbecue? That's what you'll find at the Coker Market, located in Coker, Alabama at the four-way intersection off of County Road 140. Their hours of operation are Wednesday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until 7 p.m., and their menu items include the Midnight, which is smoked ham, smoked pork, Swiss cheese, Creole mustard, mayonnaise, and a pickle, grilled on French bread. That sandwich is absolutely amazing. Make sure you go and check out the Coker Market right there at the four-way intersection in Coker for amazing food and community goods. And guys, with that, we want to welcome you back inside of our final segment right here on the Stingray Show. We hope that you guys have thoroughly enjoyed this interview up to this point with Vince Papala. And now let's continue and finish up the interview talking with Mr. Vince Papala. Vince, personally, what kind of reaction did you receive about the movie after it was released?
Like you? How'd you? I mean, how'd you become that guy? Actually, it was overwhelming. I couldn't believe the reaction. You know, I mean, we ran number one. Our movie. I mean, everybody has that dream, and people try to knock you down because of the dream that you have. And I just embraced it. You know, I tell you, the ones that probably had to deal with it the most were my children. Because, you know, we lived in a nice neighborhood. You know, we were doing pretty good, and this was, you know, pre-movie, and you know, Vinny was such a great athlete, and he was doing things, and, you know, he had earned his way to get to the spot that he was, and, of course, you know, between jealousy and insecurity and all that kind of stuff, they started going after my children, you know, and then social media was just starting to come out, and she's a freshman at a private school there, and, you know, they started attacking her on social media. And it was painful to watch. And, you know, it almost, and it's finally got to the point, we had a conversation with the kids just over the Christmas holidays and say, do you still get that invincible stuff, you know, that invincible crap? And they said, nah, it's all gone. But it wasn't easy for them, you know, and you know, but I make that part of the presentation again. You know, the reason people say this and the reason they say that, you know, it's because of their insecurity and the resentment because they don't have the guts to do what you do.
Right.
To me, it wasn't gutty. It was just there. If I made it, you know, we'd ask a question prior, all the way back in the beginning, you know, was any pressure on me? There was no pressure. You know, it was pressure put on, you know, it was just there and everybody expected me to do it. So what was it? And so they're pretty comfortable with it. And Vinny right now, he's maintained himself, and Gabrielle has done really well in the business world and does real estate with my wife Janet, and you know, doing very well. She's down here in Florida with me, and Vinny right now is out in Arlington at training camp. But mostly it was the kids. You know, Janet sort of pretty cool. But if anybody got in Janet's face, forget about it. I gotta tell you. Because she has a hat that she wears that says, "Beware, I have no filters." You laugh. You think that's funny. I could go out there and I could show you that hat.
I've never seen your wife. I've never met your wife. I've never seen a photograph or anything, but I am a huge fan of your wife. I can tell you that. Just because of that hat. What?
Yeah, if she were here, she just flew into Philadelphia. And I say, so I'm a free agent here for about a week. But all my buddies, hey man, come up. We're going to go here. We're going to go to see. You know, we're going to listen to him. We're going to go there. I just want to relax, man. I've been traveling so much. But yeah, she's a pistol. You know, she's 5'1", all 5'1", a realtor for 41 years. And I said your fatal flaw. I said you bring people in. It's like we're the SPCA only with human beings. That, you know, if anybody, and she's counseling people and working with them and running our business and, you know, being the greatest mom in the world and the greatest wife and a guy could have. So 30 years, man. They actually, the over-under on me with her was about 2 years. So, you know, you would love her. But anyway, if she were here, she'd be right there.
Steven, we might need to bring her on the show one day.
Well, we'll have to do it. She would love it. Oh yeah, she's a pistol. Yeah.
So, Vince, now let's move to present-day football. If you were a recruit coming out of high school right now, who are some coaches and some universities that you would love to play for?
Well, I'd play. I definitely want to play for Clemson. Tuscaloosa. You know, you lost the legend, the GOAT, and you know, I'm sure he just got tired of the portal and all the other stuff and all the crap that's going on in high school. I mean, these kids are coming out of school and they got more money than I ever made in my lifetime. And, so, you know, Georgia would certainly be one of them. I would love to, I would love to play for Harbaugh. I would love to play for Michigan. Yeah, he's actually featured in the last book that I wrote with my buddy Danny Franks called The Last Laugh. The Last Laugh, Vision to Victory. It's on Amazon. Anybody cares. And featured in that book is Harbaugh. I would love to have gone there. I would have loved to have gone with the Clemson. And I mean, who wouldn't who wouldn't want to play for Alabama? I mean, geez, yes. Oh man, you know. And down here in Florida, you know, I would love to go to a Florida school, you know, one of them, which would be, I'm going to have to say FSU because my daughter's boyfriend, he's an old, so I got to say that. But, you know, they would be the teams. But hey, listen, and Penn State, well, not now, but I would have, under the Paterno years or the Bill O'Brien years, I would have loved to have gone to Penn State. That's where Janet, I think I mentioned, went. But, hey, it's a whole different ballgame now. You know, what's happened to loyalty? What's happened to commitment? Mm-hmm. You know, hey, if I don't like it, you know, and I busted my butt and I'm not going to start, you know, why do I want to stay here? Let's go somewhere else. And I'm just not a real fan of the transfer portal.
Yeah, you mentioned Clemson, and you know, Dabo Swinney, of course, played at University of Alabama, and of course, we're here on Tuscaloosa. But what is it about Coach Swinney that you would like to play for him? Because I would love to play for him myself if I had the opportunity.
Yeah, just his personality.
Okay.
Yeah, he was. I was on the executive board of the Maxwell Football Club, and you know, everybody compared us to the Heisman. But what we did is we gave awards out at all levels, high school, college, pro level, and, you know, and all kinds of different awards other than the one thing. And Dabo Swinney was the coach for the coach of the year, you know, for that great year that he had about 5 years ago. And so I was sort of assigned to Dabo and, you know, with him. And he and his wife, and, you know, my Janet, you know, she gets along with everybody. We just had the greatest time. You know, with him as a person, as a man, not as a football coach. But here's the one: it was the draft. The NFL draft was being held in Philly. I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And there's this great Del Frisco's is one of the great steak shops. And so we're going. I'm doing events. I'm doing all kinds of events for the NFL in the draft. And I said, let's go to Del Frisco's. And as soon as I walked in there, the first big table, there were 10 of them there. Dabo Swinney was right there at the head of the table, and he saw me, and he just broke away and came up and gave me a big hug. And Doug Peterson's son goes to Clemson, and I know they're big Clemson fans. It was just something about Dabo and his personality that I could play for. I saw a lot of Dick Vermeil. I saw a lot of my high school coach. I saw a blend of those people that were so influential in my life that I could easily play for. That's somebody from the United States. Yeah, we'll let that one. Where's my phone? Oh, here. Let me end this sucker.
You're fine.
Unknown caller.
You need to take that.
I cannot take this call. I'm on a podcast.
Thank you, Vince.
That's crazy. Awesome.
Jesus.
So, Vince, look, man, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, and please feel free to promote anything that you would like to.
Oh, well, thank you. You know, just anybody out there, and if you're listening to this, I have a book, you know, more than anything. You know, my wife, we have a real estate thing in 3 states here in Florida, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. But I have this really great book out there, and it's called The Last Laugh, written by myself and Dennis Franks. Dennis, I lost 2 years ago, right before Christmas, right before he was my roommate, soulmate, everything mate, you know, and he was a godfather of my children. So he was too small. He played for Bo at Michigan. He was too small to play in the NFL. I was too old. And so we came up with this Victor's Code, From Vision to Victory. And then what we did is, you know, we told our stories, and it's pretty funny. You know, there's a lot of great pictures and stuff like that. But at the end, we have 12 entrepreneurs and very successful people, well-known people, including Jim Harbaugh, who took a look at our Victor's Code and said, yeah, I could tell my story through the code. And, you know, from vitality to vehemence to victory and vision and all that, you know, and so that's it. It's on Amazon, so it's pretty cool. You know, The Last Laugh. And other than that, you know, VincePapale.com. Anybody needs a good sedative, you know, I'll get up and give a good presentation. But it's all good. I'm having a great time right now, trying to slow it down. And it's going to be crazy because when football season starts for Vinny every weekend, I'm going to be in Memphis at least 4 weekends. and others, five others. So it's going to be a fun spring.
So Vince, look, man, we would love to have you come back and join us during the college football season in the fall, and have a wonderful rest of your spring and summer. And we will definitely do this again.
I appreciate it. Next time I'll have Janet with me.
Yes,
I would love that. I would absolutely love that.
Yeah, Janet Cantwell. Anybody wants to look her up on Google or whatever you use, duck down. Janet Cantwell, Cantwell, and you'll see her as a gymnast, and she's quite the person.
Wonderful.
All right, quite the lady too. Thanks, guys. This was awesome. You guys, you're an invincible team. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right, bud. See ya. All right, be safe.
You too. So guys, that is going to wrap up another edition of the Stingray Show. We hope that you guys have thoroughly enjoyed it. A quick little programming note. Tomorrow evening, on Tuesday evening, due to Alabama baseball, we will have a show immediately following the conclusion of Alabama baseball. So that will be around 9:30 or so tomorrow evening. And then we will be back to our normally scheduled time at 6 o'clock on Wednesday. We will see you guys on down the line, and on down the line is tomorrow evening around 9:30, and then on Wednesday at 6 o'clock. We will see you then. And finally, guys, we were not able to play all of this interview due to time constraints on the radio. So if you would like to hear more from Vince Papala, Mr. Invincible, look for our podcast page on Spotify, The Stingray Show.